My name is Emma, and I am 28 years old. I work in a small bookstore in a quiet town near the sea. Every morning, I wake up early, make tea, and open the shop at 9:00 a.m. When there are no customers, I like to read books. I live alone in a small apartment above the bookstore. My family lives in another city. I do not see them often, but I call my mother on weekends. My life is simple. I do not have many friends, and I am not close to anyone. But I don't mind. Books are my friends, and I feel safe in my own little world. But one rainy afternoon, everything changed. It was late October. The air was cold, and dark clouds covered the sky. The sound of rain hit the windows as I sat behind the counter reading a book. There were no customers. It was a slow day. Then I looked outside and saw a man standing across the street. He wore a long black coat and held an old umbrella. He didn't move. He just stood there, looking at the bookstore, looking at me. A strange feeling came over me. I didn't know this man, but something about him felt familiar. I stared at him for a moment, but when a car passed in front of the shop, he was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about him. Who was he? Why was he standing there? The next day, it rained again. I opened the bookstore at the usual time and made tea. At 3:00 p.m., I looked outside. He was there again, the same man in the same black coat, standing in the same place. I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to go outside and ask him, "Who are you? Why are you watching me?" But something held me back. And then, just like the day before, he disappeared. This happened for 3 more days. Every afternoon, when the rain came, the man appeared. He never spoke. He never moved. He only watched. On the 5th day, I decided to follow him. I stepped out of the shop, but as soon as I moved, he turned and walked away. I walked faster, but he walked faster too. He turned into a small alley. I hurried after him, but when I reached the alley, he was gone. I stood there, my heart pounding. There were no doors, no open windows. No way he could have disappeared so quickly. That night, I had a dream. I was standing near the sea. It was raining, and the wind was cold. The man in the black coat stood in front of me. He smiled and whispered my name, Emma. His voice was deep, soft, and full of love. Then I woke up. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I sat up in bed, trying to calm myself. How does he know my name? The next morning, I went to the bookstore, but I couldn't focus. I dropped books, forgot to count change for customers, and made my tea too strong. My mind was somewhere else. In the afternoon, I looked out the window, but for the first time in days, he wasn't there. I should have felt relieved. But instead, I felt something strange. I felt sad. A week passed. No rain. No man. Then, on Sunday night, the rain returned. I sat by my window, watching the streetlights reflect on the wet pavement. The town was quiet. Then I saw him standing under the streetlight, looking up at me. Without thinking, I grabbed my coat and ran outside. The cold rain touched my face, but I didn't care. My breath was fast. My hands felt cold. I walked toward him. He didn't move. When I reached him, he looked into my eyes and smiled softly. "Hello, Emma," he said. His voice made my heart stop. It was the same voice from my dream. I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" His smile faded. "I have waited for you." I felt a lump in my throat. Waited for me? But I don't know you. He looked at me with sad eyes. Yes, you do. I shook my head. No, that's not possible. The man reached into his coat and took out something small. He held it out to me. It was an old photograph. My hands trembled as I took it. I looked down at the picture and gasped. It was me, but I was wearing a different dress. My hair was longer, and standing beside me in the photo was him. I turned the photo over. There was a date written on the back. 1923. I stared at the date, my heart pounding. This isn't real, I whisper. This is a joke. The man shook his head. No, Emma. You don't remember, but I do. I felt dizzy. My vision blurred. My breathing was unsteady. I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. He reached out and touched my hand. His fingers were warm, even in the cold rain. You will, he said. And then, he disappeared. I stood there, frozen in the rain, staring at the empty space where the man had been. My hands still tingled where he had touched me. The photograph trembled in my fingers. I looked at it again. That was impossible. I wasn't alive in 1923. And yet, the woman in the photo was me. I rushed back into my apartment, locking the door behind me. My clothes were wet, my hands were cold, and my heart wouldn't stop racing. I sat on my bed, staring at the old photograph. My mind was spinning. Who was he? How did he know my name? Why did he say I knew him? I closed my eyes, trying to think. Then suddenly, flashes of something memories that weren't mine came into my mind. A garden, a stone bench, the sound of the sea, the same man laughing, holding my hand, calling my name. Emma, wait for me. I opened my eyes, gasping. My body was shaking. No, this was crazy. I took a deep breath and told myself it wasn't real. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was imagining things. But deep inside, I knew the truth. Somewhere, somehow, I had known him before. The next morning, I woke up feeling weak. I hadn't slept well. I kept thinking about him, about the photo, about the memories that weren't mine. At work, I was distracted. Customers spoke to me, but I barely heard them. I dropped books, forgot prices, and even burned my tea. At 3:00 p.m., I stood by the window. It wasn't raining, but I still looked outside. I waited. I didn't know why, but he never came. Days passed. The rain stopped. The sky was clear again, but the emptiness inside me grew stronger. I needed to see him. So one evening, I made a decision. I took the old photograph and walked through the town, searching. I didn't know where I was going, but my heart pulled me somewhere. After a long walk, I reached the sea. The waves were quiet, and the air was cool. The place felt familiar, but I didn't know why. Then I saw something. A small, old garden near the cliffs. A stone bench in the middle. I gasped. This was the place from my dream. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. I touched the cold stone bench, and suddenly I felt dizzy. Then a whisper in the wind. Emma. I turned. He was there, standing a few feet away, looking at me with sad, gentle eyes. I swallowed. You're real? He smiled. I told you. Tears filled my eyes. Who are you? He walked closer. You loved me once, he said softly. A long time ago. My chest felt heavy. I don't remember. He reached out, touching my hand again. The moment our skin met, everything came back. A different time, a different life. The same sea, the same stone bench, and the same love. His name was Daniel. We had met in this town in another lifetime. I was young, full of dreams. He was kind, gentle, and he loved me more than anything. We used to meet here, in this garden by the sea. We sat on this bench, reading poetry, laughing, talking about the future. He had promised to marry me. But fate was cruel. There was a storm one night, a terrible accident. Daniel never came back. And I spent my days waiting. I never loved again. I grew old alone, holding on to memories, wishing for another chance, wishing to find him again. I gasped as the memories faded, and I looked at Daniel with wide eyes. Tears rolled down my face. It's you, I whisper. He nodded. It's me. I covered my mouth, shaking. I waited for you. I found you, he said softly. I stepped closer, my heart full of emotions I couldn't explain. But how? How is this possible? He smiled. Some love never ends, Emma. Some love finds its way back, no matter how much time passes. A tear fell down my cheek. Are you real? His hand touched my face, warm and gentle. As real as your heart remembers me. I closed my eyes, leaning into his touch. Is this our second chance? I whispered. He didn't answer, but his eyes full of love and sadness told me everything. I wanted to hold him forever. I wanted to never let go. But deep inside, I knew this moment was all we had. The next morning, I woke up in my bed. The air was still. The sun was shining. For a moment, I thought it was all a dream. But then I saw it. The old photograph lying on my nightstand. I picked it up with shaking hands. On the back, where the date 1923 was written, there was something new. A single line. I will always find you. Tears filled my eyes, but I smiled because I knew one day, in another time, in another life, he would. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share.